So, Preston, we have some distressing news from George himself. Somewhat of an update, kind of an update. I say kind of
Oh,
because I don't know if he was being serious. God, I hope he wasn't being serious. But so George R. R. Martin was recently talking to author Cassandra Clare, and what did you say? What was her series again? That she's
Mortal Instruments.
yeah.
Yes.
So he was talking to her at his theater, and they were having a conversation, and I believe Cassandra was saying how her next book. Well, I'll post a clip here.
So the second one comes out in March of 2025.
Oh, okay.
They're long.
The really depressing thing is that still may beat Winds of Winter. Who the hell knows?
I'll race you.
So how many, I've been working, I'm 12 years late with Winds of Winter, as we know. I'm just going to put it right out there. You guys don't have to pester me about it.
George, relax, sweetheart. Don't do that to me, please. 2025 really is going to beat Winds of Winter? Are you?
I mean,
what?
he's joking, but he's accidentally being completely serious by accident.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, come on. So yes, at this event, very briefly. I mean, he made this comment, but it was also like the tone of it and everything. But
He gets
I don't
very
know.
serious because in that same clip he says you guys can stop pestering me about it, which I agree. I've never thought that any of us should be pestering George. I feel bad because every time this fucking guy, obviously it's one of his team members or whatever, every time this fucking guy uploads like a Twitter post or whatever, people always say, huh, "Where's Winds of Winter?" Like they're fucking funny. Like that joke hasn't been made for a decade now.
Right.
Like I agree, like people should stop pestering him. I get that. But at the same time, my man, it's been 12 years. 12, 13 maybe? Like what is going on?
Well,
You had a video about this, right? About his writing progress.
yeah, I had a video about the writing progress, with regards to uh, COVID and stuff like that, and sort of his reports like year by year on progress and stuff like that. I mean, the main thesis is that he had leftover material from Wins. He did very little, and then in COVID he had a big breakthrough, but he's back to slow. He's back to slow writing again.
Ironically, you released this video in June 9th, 2022, before House of the
Mm-hmm.
Dragon. And then I remember, I think he was on one of the late night shows where he said he was like 500 pages away from being done or something. This was after House of the Dragon ended. I think that's what he
Yeah,
said.
yeah. He said
You know,
75%. He said 75% done or something was what
something
I,
like that.
because I had estimated he was 2/3, and then this came out a few months later, and you said I was 75%. So I was like, I don't know. I did a But the thing is, like, what's his 75%? So I think I was pretty accurate.
I think so too. But like so 2025 might beat the Winds of Winter. Like what makes you think like is because I want to believe he's making a joke, but at the same time, like you said, maybe he's being serious. There's no way this guy is being serious because at least I don't want him to
So
be.
if we go back to A Dance with Dragons, George R. R. Martin spent a good couple years like talking about it being almost done, and everybody's like, where is it? And it was like, oh, it's almost done, and then it finally came. But that was, and everybody kind of says like, well, what was? This is where people talk about the Myronese knot a lot, because he kept saying, oh, I'm like 75% done, I'm almost done with Dance with Dragons, and everybody's like, well, what's the problem? Well, the problem is that George didn't know how to deal with all of the characters coming into Slaver's Bay at the same time, and so he like rewrote chapters in different ways to try to figure it out, and before finally deciding that if he created a Barristan point of view, then he could kind of get it to work. And the Barristan chapters are great. I really like how that turned out. So, but you know, the almost done point is still a long way, you know. So it's not all of a sudden going to be like, oh, Winds of Winter is going to happen, you know.
You think Barristan is how he gets out of the mirror and he's not?
Yeah, he's talked about that. Yeah, Barristan is how he. So his problem was originally is that he had all of these characters coming to Slaver's Bay to find Dany, right? And so Victarion, Tyrion, Marwyn, Quentin, but at the same time he wanted Dany to like fly away on her dragon. So the question is like how like when are these people going to arrive and how are they going to interact, and how is he going to have certain plot elements move forward, and who's going to be the point of view, like viewing everything. And he realized he couldn't do it with Dany still there. Like, you know, say Dany flew off, and then how do you tell the story from Quentin's perspective on what's on the, say, the Battle of Fire happening? Or how do you have Victarion arrive too, and things like this? And he just couldn't get it to work. So he invented the Barristan point of view. And so the minute Dany leaves, Barristan becomes the Myronese point of view. And is, you know, it works from there. But Barristan was never supposed to be a point of view chapter in his original plan. It was an invention just to get through the Myronese knot and get into the Battle of Fire. Yeah. So
You know what's gonna suck is imagine for a minute. This is so stupid. Imagine for a minute that we've been waiting 12, 13, maybe 14 years for Winds of Winter. It finally comes out, and it's a 6 out of 10 book. It's not that great. It's not that good.
I've been kind of saying that for a while, that like I think that the writing is always going to be good, but if it does come out, it's not going to be what people expect. That it's still going to be this expanding plot that everybody's going to be really shocked about. Like, oh, what? Really? And this is for a couple reasons. Is that like George R. R. Martin's writing style has always been really, really fast conclusion. You know, the story gets bigger, and then there's a very, very fast ending where everything kind of like collapses and comes together. And so, I mean, this is, if you look at his novels, like Dying of the Light has a very fast ending. Armageddon Rag has a very fast ending. Fever Dream has a very fast ending, where you're building up to this huge climax and it's getting bigger, and then there's just this like really fast collapse, and then it's over. And I don't know how you do that with a story this big. Like, you know, you feel like some stories have to like come in, you know, but I don't know if that's his writing style. So we'll see. I mean, I guarantee though, I don't know. Like, I would say it's a 90% chance that Winds of Winter comes out and the story is still getting bigger, and people would finish it and be like, how does this wrap up in one book? I don't understand.
Yeah, there's if that's true, there's no way it could wrap up in one book. Realistically, there's no way it could.
I mean, it's still, we're already at the point where it's like it doesn't feel like it should wrap up in 2 books, right?
I mean, you still had the original name for the last book, A Time of Wolves, so we could get that.
Yeah,
Driven
but
Springs
I mean,
and then A Time of Wolves.
there's no elements of anything wrapping up. Like, even when you look at the sample chapters, like the Arianne sample chapters of her like wandering for 2 chapters, or Tyrion like sitting on his butt in war for 2 chapters. You know, the sample chapters don't move anything forward. It's you know, we have not yet seen any evidence of like trying to wrap things up. Like, nothing. You know, so once we see something like that, you know, maybe, but nothing so far. We don't have any like positive note from him, you know, that oh yeah, it's really getting close. I'm having a breakthrough, because when he has breakthroughs and he has good writing days, he writes about it. He lets people know when he's silent.
That's actually a very good fucking point about him having good writing days. I got some flack for what we said during our fantasy author discussion about how George doesn't get to be on the Mount Rushmore of fantasy writers if he doesn't finish. But because I gave a pass to Robert Jordan and a bunch of other authors who didn't finish. But you know how people are dumb. I hate that I have to explain this. I thought it was obvious, but the fact that like Robert Jordan and Frank Herbert and Kentaro Miura, all these people, they were actively writing until they passed away. Now, as for George, people actually don't know this because when I started telling people this, they were like, "No, that's not true. It's 100% true." What I'm about to say, George is out here too busy doing cameos in Sharknado than he is writing. Did you know about this? That he did a cameo in Sharknado and Z Nation?
I didn't know he was in Sharknado, no.
You did. There's a moment where he's in the theater and like the Sharknado is happening. I fucking hate saying that word, but he's in the movie theater and then like a shark comes right through the movie theater and eats him.
Oh,
and
Sharknado 3. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, and he's also in Z Nation as like a goof where he's been zombified and he's like sitting on his desk just writing like signing autographs. That's the joke.
I see.
Like I don't think Frank Herbert was doing that or Robert Jordan up until they passed away. So,
well, yeah. I mean, obviously there's the distractions. Like I think there's probably some just personal issue that George R. Martin's dealing with, but like. I think that the distractions are definitely a thing. When I think about even I don't know, like my own writing or the fanfic and things like this, like you get distracted with something else and you're out of it. Like it's a very complicated story, and so you lose your train of thought. Like, wait, what happened to that character? Oh. What was I planning on doing with that?
This is why we have assistants and helpers to help us out with this stuff.
Yes.
You don't think he has those?
He does, but I don't think he has them with his writing.
This is a very frustrating thing for me specifically because, and once again, I'm going to be the weeb that I am and go back to manga for a second. There's this one series called Hunter x Hunter. It's been going on since like 98. And the author takes hiatuses because he has severe, debilitating back problems to the point where he can barely wipe his own ass. My brother in Christ, just have your assistants do it for you. Just have them write and have them draw and all this stuff. You do not need to be like on the desk yourself. George should really just have more assistants helping him out. Are you free, by the way?
Well, yeah, but I don't know. That's just not his style. That's just not his style.
Yeah,
and when I've seen, and some people are like, oh, he needs a deadline. I was like, I don't know if that helps because I've seen his writing that has had deadlines and it's not good. So I'm talking about like the Rogue Prince, which had a deadline and and he very clearly missed it, and which is why the Rogue Prince is a mess.
Oh, wait, who gave him the deadline? The same company he's been working with to publish books for years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny because House of the Dragon is based on the material. But Viserys is like the last like third of his reign, just like there's just no pages written on it. It's just like immediately, like we fast forward to him dying. Like Viserys lives like 29 years, and so you should have like a breakdown of like it should be like what, like nine years for every like 15 pages, and so like the first 9 years are 15 pages, the second 9 years are 15 pages, and then the last 9 years are like 4 pages.
Could you argue that he wanted to leave that stuff open because he wanted to go back to it in the future, kind of like he did for the World of Ice and Fire?
Well, what's funny is when it was released, he's like, oh, it's this is an abridged version, and then there's not like any edition that when Fire and Blood happened. So it's just, I blame it on the fact that like, oh, Rogue Prince, they just didn't give him that much time, and so he didn't finish it.
Yeah, well, here we are, still waiting. Because I don't know if you know this, but a couple days ago, last year, is when he released his last book, which was not even a release. It was a re-release with more pictures. It was the Fire and Blood re-release.
Oh.
Yeah, you forgot about that?
Yeah, I don't know if I count that. What Fire and Blood re-release? I mean, is the texts all the same, right? Or is it just
For the most part, yeah. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.